Hey guys, welcome back. So in the last video, we created our connect method, right? We established a socket, this IP address and this port. We have the input stream set up being retrieved from the socket, as well as the output stream going through the socket, right? So now what we need to do is we need to code basically what happens now that we're connected, right? We're going to use a loop because we want the program to stay alive until a certain exit condition is going to be met, right? We don't want it to terminate after it gets done executing the code once. We want to keep doing it until we tell it to stop. So we're going to do that using a do-while loop. So let's go ahead and start coding that while connected method. So we'll say private static void while connected, right? No parameters because we're not taking anything in. And so we know that we want to be able to type a message and send that message to the server, right? So we need to create a way that we can get input from us, right? So we could do that using a scanner. So we'll say scanner equals new scanner, and then system.in, so we could write to the console, and it'll retrieve what we say. And now that we have our our scanner created, we need to recognize that we're going to have two different string variables. We're going to have one string being what we type to the server, and one string being what the server echoes back to us. So let's create those real quick. We'll say string output text equals just a blank string, and string server response is equal to another blank string, because we don't have those things yet, but we want them there and we want to instantiate them so that we can use them right away. So now that we have our strings created, we need to put everything inside of a try catch, because when we're reading input from the server, it's going to throw the IO exception. Anytime we use the connection, it's going to throw the input-output exception. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. We'll say try, and then we'll go ahead and catch that IO exception. Call that IOE again. And again, we'll print the stack trace because we want to be able to follow what goes wrong in the execution of the program. So now what can we put inside of this try catch? Well, like I said before, we're going to use a do-while loop. We want the program to stay alive until a certain condition is met. So let's go ahead and start that. We'll say we're going to do something while some condition is true, right? And we'll cover that condition in a second, but for now, let's code the do. What do we want our program to do? So basically, since we're inside the loop here, what we want to do is when the server's online, we want to be able to type to the server and send that message to the server, right? That's the first step. So we're going to use that output text string we have up here. And what's it going to be equal to? Well, it's going to be equal to the scanner.next line, because we want to be able to pull from the console what we type so that we can send what we type to the server. So we're going to say output text equals scanner.next line, so that we can grab what we type and store it inside that string output text. Now, what do we want to do with it? Well, we want to send it to the server, right? We want to send message. We haven't created the send message method yet, but we will. So let's just say send message, because this is a method we haven't created yet, and the purpose of it's going to be to send the message to the server, and we're going to pass in the output text. And we'll create that method in a minute, but I'm sure you understand what's going on there. So now that we've sent the message to the server, what do we want to do? Well, we know that when we send a message, it's going to echo one right back to us. So we need to be listening for that server. We need to basically be listening for that server response and store it inside of that server response string we created. So we do that by saying server response is equal to. Now, do you remember where we got? Because that socket's the pipe, right? Do you remember where we get the input stream coming from the pipe, the socket? It's in our input, the buffer reader, right? So we'll say input.read line. And what that's doing is it's saying, hey, you know, my server response stream we created, that's going to be equal to the input.read line. So when the server responds, we're storing that response inside of the server response string. Makes sense, right? Now what's the last thing we need to do after we receive that response? Well, we need to print out the response so that we can see it on our screen. So we'll say system.out.println, and we'll just print out the server response. We want to just be able to see what the server's echoed back to us so that we know that the echo server is working, right? Cool, so we have that. Now we have to figure out what's the exit condition. What we're going to be doing this until what condition's met. Well, let's do it under, if we send the word exit to the server in all caps. Basically, we haven't created our server yet, but we're going to outline it so that when we type something, let's say I send the string exit over, the server is going to respond with a string that looks like this: server, and then a space, and then exit. So basically, the way we're going to design the server is going to be whatever message you sent to it, it's just going to put this server tag right in front of it. So let's make the exit condition where if we type exit to the server responds back with a server exit. We know that that's when we want to terminate our program. So let's do that. So we'll say while it's not. So we're going to do this while that condition. We don't want to do it while the server response is equal to that. We want to do it while any response from the server is not equal to that. We want to do everything inside of here so long as we don't say exit, right? We don't get this server exit message from the server. So we do that by saying, while it's not true that server response is equal to, and we already know what the string is going to look like when we get it from the server. So we say, while it's not true, right? While it's not true that the server says this, we're going to keep doing this. So after we get get what we're going to send to the server from the console, we send it to the server, we listen for the response, and we print it back to the screen, and then it's just going to repeat that. It's going to go right back to listening for our input, so long as the server response isn't this. So as long as we don't say exit, it's going to keep doing this. So we got to code our send message method real quick. So let's go ahead and do that. Private static void send message, and we do have a parameter here. It's going to be a string, and it's just going to be the message we want sent to the server. Now, how do we write to the server? We do that with the print writer that we established earlier, right? Because that's the output stream. It's going to be writing to that side of the socket that goes out, right? So we do that by saying output, because that's the name of it, dot print line, and then we just pass in what we want to send to the server. So we pass in the message received to us that we tell it to send. So output.println message, and what that's going to do is it's going to write that message to that server, through that socket, rather. So now that we have that coded, let's see, I'm running low on time here. So basically, let's go over this one more time. Scanner, we create this so that we can get our input. We can type to the console so that we know what we're going to send to the server. There's the two strings, the string of what we're going to send to the server and the server's response. We're going to listen for our input to send to the server. When we get it, we send it to the server, we listen for the response, then we print it back out, and we repeat so long as we don't get this back from the server. So that's so long as we don't send exit to the server. The last step in this is going to be we need to terminate the program correctly. We can't just, system.exit with our socket open, with our input and output streams open. We have to close those streams. So in the next video, basically we're gonna just close. We're gonna code a method called terminate session, and what we're gonna do there is I'm gonna show you guys how to close your streams correctly, so that nothing's left open when the program terminates. And then we'll go through and add a couple little system.println statements over here so that we can see what's going on as we go. So in the next video, that's what we can look forward to. Once again, thank you guys for coming, and I hope to see you next time.